Hi everyone, Boomer here for Caravel Gaming, and we are going to start the Revenge campaign in Magic 2014. However, I've decided to do some things a little bit differently. I was just going to go through the whole campaign with one deck again, and then do a little bit of an overview. However, some of these decks, when they're fully unlocked, are so powerful, and you guys have already seen the campaign. So I feel like this Revenge campaign would actually be a good idea to get a look at all the decks, or at least as many of them as it's worth doing. Some of the decks are very powerful that we're going to be up against, so we may even end up changing deck if I feel like a deck is a particularly bad matchup. The Slivers deck feels very powerful, but it's actually probably the most inconsistent of all the decks. So what we're going to do is we're going to move round one. We're going to have a look at Chant of the Mul Daya this time round. And Chant of the Mul Daya is pretty much just ramp and fat monsters, but it's very, very consistent. Let's have a look at some of the cards we're not playing, because I've got the deck in the coordination I want. We have Vengevine, which is a 4/3 with haste for 4. Whenever you cast a spell, if it's the second creature spell you cast this turn, you may return it from your graveyard to the battlefield. This deck isn't really the right sort of deck for Vengevine. We have a Guy's Revenge, which is 5 and 2 green for an 8/5. It cannot be countered, it has haste, and it can't be the target of non-green spells or abilities from non-green sources. So this is a great card to have against control sort of decks. So against blue decks and against decks with Path to Exile, that's a pretty good card. Scoop Mob is a 1/1 for 1, and at the beginning of our upkeep, if we control 5 or more lands, put 4+1/+1 counters on it. That is a creature that becomes very big very quickly, but again there's no real need for it in this deck. Exploration lets us play an additional land on each of our turns. Sounds good, but it's not as good as it could be because we don't have any way to draw cards. So its usefulness runs out towards the end of turn 3 usually, and it's a dead draw late game. Where exploration is good is in usually legacy decks these days with either the lands deck, which basically just uses lands to win the game, or a deck like Enchantress, which can draw cards off it with an Enchantress and then lay more lands as it draws cards, so it's all pretty much always useful. We have a Vastwood Hydra, which is X green for a 0/0 that comes into the battlefield with X+1/+1 counters, and when it dies you may distribute the 1+1/+1 counters among any number of creatures you control. It's okay, it's not really good enough for what we're doing. Rites of Flourishing, 2 and a green. At the beginning of each player's draw step, they draw an additional card, and each player may play an additional land on each of her turns. Again, seems fine, but your opponent gets to go first, so always gets the advantage of it. Into the Wilds is 3 and a green. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you may put it onto the battlefield. Decent card, but we have a card called Oracle of Mul Daya, which is just better. Dramatic Entrance, 3 green, you may put a green creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. We don't have anything that's that expensive that it's worth playing this, although the fact that it is an instant means that we can play some pretty fun, do some pretty fun stuff. Again, maybe blue decks or something, this is a decent card against. Plow Under's a really good card. I am very tempted to put this main deck, but at the moment just putting in the sideboard. Put 2 target lands on top of their owner's library. Doesn't sound great, but if you can create a position where you're head on the board, you basically just lock your opponent out because his next 2 draws are going to be land. Vigor's a 6/6 for 6 with Trample. If damage would be dealt to a creature you control other than Vigor, prevent it and put a +1/+1 counter on that creature for each damage prevented this way. And when Vigor is put into a graveyard from anywhere, shuffle it into its opponent's library. Very good creature, but again isn't really fitting what we want to do. Summoning Trap, this again is an anti-blue card, 4 green for an instant. If a creature spell you cast this turn was countered by a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may pay 0 rather than pay its mana cost. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield, put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So yeah, this is basically, you counter my spell, I'm going to put a fat monster in play. Terastrodon, 8 mana for a 9/9. When it enters the battlefield you may destroy up to 3 target non-creature permanents. For each permanent put into a graveyard this way, its controller puts a 3/3 green elephant creature totem onto the battlefield. That is a damn big elephant. Again, this is very close to main deckable. It's really good. Gets rid of a lot of really annoying enchantments, things like that. Again, a bit of a sideboard card, I think. Eldrazi Conscription, 8 mana, enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +10/+10, has Trample Annihilator 2. Without the ability to cheat this into play, there's not really any reason to play it. It That Betrays is a 12 mana 11/11 with Annihilator 2. Annihilator means whenever it attacks, the defending player sacrifices a number of permanents equal to Annihilator. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent, put that card onto the battlefield under your control. Incredibly powerful effect, but it costs 12. I do have one in the deck, but I'm certainly not going to play 2. Tangle, really good against aggressive decks. It's 1 and a green, prevent all combat damage that will be dealt this turn, and then each attacking creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. Really good if you're getting behind. Harmonise, draw 3 cards. I want this in the main deck. Why is it not there? Woodborne Behemoth, 3/5/5 for a 4/4. As long as you control 8 or more lands, it gets +4/+4 and has trample. Again, a bit slow for what we want to be doing. Palaka Worm, 7 mana for a 7/7 with trample. When it enters the battlefield you gain 7 life. When it dies, draw a card. Excellent card against like more aggressive strategies, but it's a sideboard card. Again, it doesn't really fit with what we want to be doing main deck. Artisan of Kozilek is a 9 mana 10/9. When you cast Artisan of Kozilek you may return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and it has Annihilator 2. I have, I think, one of these main deck. Explores, you may play an additional land this turn, draw a card. Really good, but I've got so many ramp spells that I had to cut some. 2 of them, by the way. 3 mana for a 2/2 with landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield, gain 2 life. Not really good enough to be main decked. Fierce Empath is 3 mana for a 1/1. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost 6 or greater. Reveal it and put it into your hand and shuffle your library. There's better ways for me to search my deck. It's not a bad spell, but I think there are better things I can be doing. Spore Mine, 3 green. We've already seen this one in the, I believe, Thalid deck. 5 mana for a 3/3. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under my control, put a 1/1 green sapling token into play. Not good enough for this deck. And Bountiful Harvest, gain a lot of life. Again, not good enough. So let's have a look at what we have in the main deck. We have 2 Green Sun Zeniths, which is search your library for a green creature card with converted mana cost X or less, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Shuffle Green Sun Zeniths into its opponent's library. Incredibly good card. Eye of Ugin, which is one of our... so we've actually got 26 land in this deck. Sounds like a lot, but we need it. Eye of Ugin, colorless Eldrazi spells, cost you 2 less to play, and then 7 mana, tap it, search your library for a colorless creature card, reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Really good spell. And then we have 4 Kalni Heart Expeditions, which are 1 colourless and 1 green for an enchantment. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under our control, put a quest counter on it, remove 3 quest counters and sacrifice it. Search my library for up to 2 basic lands and put them on the battlefield tapped, so it's ramp. 2 Explores, 4 Rampant Growths, 4 Farhaven Elves, which is 2 and a green for a 1/1. When Farhaven Elf enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land card and put it onto the battlefield tapped. If you do, shuffle your library. I'm actually going to get rid of 2 of these and put the Explores back in. I think Explore's just better. 3 Oracle of Mul Dayas, 4 mana for a 2/2 Elf Shaman. You may play an additional land on each of your turn. Play with the top card of your library revealed. You may play the top card of your library if it's a land card. So you can see where that's going. You just ramp and draw through your deck. I have a couple of Elvish Pipers. These aren't exactly brilliant, so I might replace them. They're just ways of cheating stuff in. 1 Harmonise. In fact, I'm going to take out 1 Piper for sure. I might actually take out the other one in exchange for a worm. 3 Primeval Titans, which is 6 mana for a 6/6 with trample. Whenever Primeval Titan enters the battlefield or attacks, you may search your library for up to 2 land cards, put them on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle your library. Notice this says land card, not basic land, so I can get my Eye of Ugin with it. Avenger of Zendikar, 7 mana for a 5/5. When it enters the battlefield, put a 0/1 green plant token onto the battlefield for each land you control. Landfall, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a +1/+1 counter on each plant you control. So you command, this is going to get 7 0/1s when it comes into play at least, and if you make a land after that, the plants start getting bigger. Tooth and Nail, 7 mana, choose 1. Search your library for up to 2 creature cards, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your library, or put up to 2 creature cards from your hand onto the battlefield. And then it has Entwine 2, which means there's an additional cost to the main cost. If you pay the Entwine cost, it does both. So, yeah. 3 All Is Dusts, which is 7 mana, each player sacrifices all coloured permanents he or she controls. And then we've got the Eldrazi. We have 2 Ulamog's Crushers, which is an 8 mana 8/8 with Annihilator 2. It attacks each turn if able. An Artisan of Kozilek, which we've already seen. A Pathraser of Ulamog, which is an 11 mana 9/9 with Annihilator 3, and it can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures. And finally an It That Betrays. So that is the deck. So I'm going to go through Innistrad, and then we will probably change deck so we can see multiple decks in action. Oh, hang on, I'm doing the campaign here, aren't I? I want to do the revenge campaign, so let's just concede that. That was a bit unfortunate. I want to do the revenge campaign. Oh yeah, we basically take them on one at a time. So, because we're taking on individuals, so let's take on Avacyn's Glory. And this is a fully unlocked Avacyn's Glory deck, so this is going to be quite difficult because, well, it's not because I have 3 All Is Dust. I figure that I'm really on top in this game. I'll keep that. I'm not going to Green Sun Zenith for 0, that would be bad. I feel that I'm going to overpower Sigismund for the most part. Okay, interesting, that's given me a... I'm going to play Kalni Heart Expedition first. Because next turn I can explore, which will get me 2 counters onto the Kalni Heart Expedition. And if I draw something like a Rampant Growth, that'll get me all 3, and I can play a turn 4 Primeval Titan. Okay, makes a Doom Traveller, which is a 1/1 for 1, that when it dies, put a 1/1 white spirit token onto the battlefield with flying. Not scary. Okay, let's play a Forest. We will cast Explore, which is I may play an additional land this turn and draw a card. And I drew an Eldrazi, which isn't really optimal. And I've got nothing to Green Sun Zenith for 1/4, so we'll just pass the turn. Okay, he's up to 3. And he comes in with the Doom Traveller. So I'm going to take the 1. And he casts Thraben Valiant, which is a 2/1 with Vigilance for 2. So he's already not built the deck like I would if it was fully unlocked, but never mind. Okay, let's make a Forest. And I think I just explore here. Oracle of Mul Daya is a good card, but not great. Okay, let's sacrifice the Kalni Heart Expedition. And that gets me 2 more forests. So now I've got 7 mana. So next turn I can either Green Sun Zenith for a Primeval Titan, or I can think about doing something else. If I get a land, I can lay Ulamog's Crusher and just start attacking. Okay, comes in for 3. And he makes another Doom Traveller. Not so scary so far. And a Gather the Townsfolk. So he is beginning to make guys. So something like a All Is Dust would go quite nicely here. Now I've got a choice. Because he's got a load of 2/1s, I can make Oracle and then Green Sun Zenith for a either another Oracle or a but I think, yeah, I think I'm just best laying Primeval Titan here. Because even if he's got a removal spell, this means that I can get Eye of Ugin and Forest. And hit continue. If he has Path to Exile, he has Path to Exile. Nope, doesn't look like it. He might also have Oblivion Ring. Yep, he's got Oblivion Ring, so he's going to get rid of my Primeval Titan. And then he's going to attack me for 6. This is actually great because, well, it's not great obviously, but if he, if I draw All His Dust now, I get my Primeval Titan back as well. So nothing too disastrous if I can draw an All His Dust. Ulamog's Crusher costs 6, so I'm actually going to Green Sun Zenith for a Primeval Titan. Which will allow me to get 2 more forests. So now I have the mana to do just about everything. And he's going to attack with all his, well, not all his guys. I'm going to block his human because blocking the Doom Travellers doesn't get me anywhere, so... And he makes another Gather the Townsfolk, okay. Not great. I think I just have to make Ulamog's Crusher and Oracle of Mul Daya. And there's a Green Sun Zenith on top of my library, so that's probably going to get another Primeval Titan. Okay, makes a Plains. It can also be used to shuffle my library if the top card after that isn't an All Is Dust. Yeah, this is bad. We may end up having to sideboard in the very first game. He doesn't attack, interesting. So It That Betrays is on top of my library. Don't think that does me any good. So if I Zenith for a Titan, I can get 2 lands. And there's a Kalni Heart Expedition on top of my library. So do I just die if I attack with the Primeval Titan? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I block this. No, I go to 1, I think. So I have to shuffle my library again. Because that Calney Heart Expedition's not going to do anything, so... And there you go, we've got all his dust on top of the library now. So... And he does block, which is great, because that's one less attacker. And he eats my Primeval Titan, that's fine. And I'm going to make Elvish Piper just basically as a chump blocker, and next turn I'm going to all his dust. And he has Angelic Overseer, so as long as you control a human, that is fine. Because all his dust is a sacrifice effect, so it doesn't matter if this is indestructible. What are you going to attack with? I would guess his flyers and his 8/8. Yep. So Elvish Piper's going to take 1 for the team. Top card in my library is a forest, so I can play that with the Oracle of Mul Daya. And I'm going to cast all his dust. Everything dies. And I get back my Primeval Titan from under his Oblivion Ring. Don't have many lands left at this point. Okay, let's activate the Eye of Ugin because I'm basically on Eldrazi mode now. Let's get the fattest one, it that betrays. I'm going to attack with Ulamog's Crusher because it has to. And he sacrifices his guys in his forests and his plains, so now he's pretty much dead. He has to find a blocker for this, and he has to find something that stops this as well. It's shiny, whatever it is. Increasing Devotion. Put 5/1/1 white human creature tokens on the battlefield. If it was cast from a graveyard, put 10 on instead. Ooh. Okay. Well, the good news is he can't just take it and, he cannot just take it and then fight back. Let's activate the Eye again. And let's get Pathrazor. Okay, so I attack with both of these. I don't get any of his guys because they're tokens, and it that betrays doesn't get tokens back. And he chumps my 8/8. Cool. Takes 6 off the Titan. Yeah, this was a lot closer than it should have been. And it's not all over yet. Getting that all is dust, having to shuffle my library a million times. He casts Path to Exile, I'm guessing on it that betrays, yep. So I'll get 1 forest that's left. And he's not going to attack, okay. Oracle of Mul Daya, okay, let's activate the Eye of Ugin. And we will get Artisan of Kozilek, confirm that. Cast Artisan of Kozilek. Pick up my Primeval Titan that I destroyed earlier with my All Is Dusk. Get the last 2 lands out of my deck. I now have every land in my deck in play. Make Oracle of Mul Daya, which is now totally useless. And attack with my 2 big dudes. And he goes block, block, and goes down to 1. So yeah, this is a fairly simple, fairly childish deck that I'm playing here, but it is quite a lot of fun. Oh, this is going to be quite a big attack coming, really. No, I'm not going to cast all this dust. Let's see if I can have every Eldrazi in my deck on the board at the same time. Yes, I can. Complete Child. Attack with all. That's going to 0 permanent him as well, which is going to make him pay for the all the damage he did to me earlier. There we go. And epic victory. He was on 1 when I attacked him for, how many is that? 32? Something like that? It's a lot. GG. Okay, so that's the end of this roundup, and that's the end of this roundup and review of the Oracle of Mul Daya deck, guys. Next time we will be looking into another deck and another match from the Revenge campaign. See you next time.